I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you join me in prayer, please? Supreme Architect of the universe, we invoke thy blessing at this time. May this meeting thus begun in peace and closed in harmony. Amen. Thank you, Mr. DeWard. Welcome, everyone, to our Thursday, August 9th, 2012 public business meeting. Gentlemen, are we ready?
We're ready to roll.
Ready to start our engines?
Yes.
All right. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening?
No, sir.
Nope. Okay. Gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our August 2nd, 2012 public business meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, let's move right into our action agenda. First is the Office of the County Attorney. Gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept Code Home Rule Bill 4-12 to amend the county building code regarding residential sprinklers. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Squires, please. Before we call for public comment on this, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your meeting today, and Commissioner Brody will also chime in.
Well, took a field trip yesterday.
Yesterday, I'm sorry, sir.
And we met with the State Fire Marshal and discussed some concerns that we had with the implementation of this. The debate on the mandatory aspect is pretty much closed. We understand that there is a timeline and the clock will be clicking down from the state side. But the action is recommended by the county attorney and recommended by staff that we go through the process and adopt this bill today. And that allows, in the attorney's opinion, and that came from also the Attorney General's office and so forth, the governor's office, Bill checked into that, will buy us time on the compulsory aspect of being implemented in Allegany County. But we have to do this and have it all in effect prior to October 1st to coincide with the state's date. We expressed our concerns to the fire marshal about the implementation, the process here, the explanation to clients, applicants, contractors. We have to prepare help sheets, brochures. We have to make sure that we get people in contact with the right suppliers, designers. Our inspectors have to be on board, whatever forms. Plus, we were also commissioned, me and Mr. Ebley have been working on the incentive program to help through this process while it's still voluntary, to encourage people to put this system in. Dave may elaborate a little bit more on that here in a couple minutes. So that was pretty much to sum up our visit. I mean, we couldn't go down there and talk the fire marshal out of the compulsory aspect. That's been decided by the Maryland General Assembly and signed into law by the governor, but just a matter of time now. I think the meeting went well.
Sir, what'd you come up with?
First of all, I'd like to thank State Fire Marshal Barnard for giving me and Jim 2 hours yesterday afternoon. It was a very productive meeting, and he brought several things to light that first of all, he's very compassionate in his belief of this. But second of all, and he was very understanding. He is representing a different area of people than we represent, and I think we made our point to him on that aspect. Our county is very sparsely populated compared to Prince George's and Anne Arundel and some of the bigger counties that was really pushing for this. And he was, I think he was open to the idea. But he was telling me and Jim about some, I'm trying to think of the best way to term this. In the very near future, there's going to be some new technologies come out on these sprinklers that I think is going to be beneficial to us. So in my personal opinion, I think if we can opt out of this for 3 years, do what we can do to help people that's interested in this, push forward with it, I think by the time that it is state mandated, I think that there's going to be several other options that's going to be less costly and better suited for our area. That was what I got. One of the disturbing things I did find out yesterday that I had no idea until we met with the fire marshal, that out of all the houses that burn and all the property loss and loss of life we have in Maryland, it is a law that every house has to have a smoke detector. And what was his figure, Jim? That 25 to 35% of the houses that we have in total of the state actually have a working smoke detector. That we got 65 to 65 to 75% of the houses with a smoke detector that does not work. That's the biggest #1 cause of a fatality in a fire. And I thought that was absolutely horrible, because I thought the number would be much, much higher than that. And given what I know our local volunteer fire departments and Cumberland fire departments do to keep smoke detectors working, that's unacceptable in this state. I mean, but other than that, it was a very productive meeting, I thought. So.
Yes. That was one of our topics about maintenance, and some of the questions that come up to us in the past was, well, if this all goes into effect, then will there have to be an annual inspection of these devices? Some of the top and furthermore, some of the things that we expressed to them was our challenges here being a rural county, and that probably 55% of our issued permits are on wells, and there's some challenges then to having these residential sprinkler systems set up on on-site water system, which tends to be a little more involved, a little more infrastructure has to be put in, a little more engineering, a little more maintenance, could get costly, but that's for us to work out over here, or at least in the next 3 years anyhow.
Mr. Eberly, we are working on some form of an incentive program, are we not? Or are we?
I think we've got a foundation for a program established.
So that's forthcoming?
It's taken a while. I do have a memo here prepared for your consideration, just to enter into the record. I can do that now if you'd like.
Well, I think that is a basis on the decision, as we'll call for the question here after we get public comment.
Okay. Commissioners, we have been discussing this internally now for the past 2 months, and it took some time for our staff to get together and come up with a consensus just on certain principles. And first and foremost, one issue that we were able to achieve consensus on is if you choose to do this, to provide an incentive for those folks who volunteer to have installed a residential fire suppression system in their home, that we'd like to offer to each applicant a free building permit. Doesn't sound like much, but it's could be $500 depending upon the size of the home. We'd also like to recommend that there be a tax credit provided to each property owner who chooses to do this, a property tax credit from their county tax bill in the amount of $500 per year for 3 consecutive years. This would be a program we'd also recommend that we'd spread it equally across the entire county and allow municipalities to also participate. The only thing the municipalities would have to do is to decide whether or not they would want to opt in, provide a free building permit for those applicants, but that would be a decision they would have to make. So it's not complicated, there's not much to it. Unfortunately, we had a difficult time with the small group that we were operating with to draw a consensus on some of these points. It was a difficult thing. So there you have it. If you choose to move forward with this program, it will require a code bill. And that's something that, should you decide to move forward with the legislation this evening, we could introduce that sometime early in September if you choose.
Okay. Ms. Linda, do we have anybody from the public? 3. Great, thank you. Perfect. We're going to move right into constituents about this particular issue, the residential sprinkler. Thank you, sir.
I want to make one last comment.
Sure.
My office did not receive any formal written comment relevant to the bill.
Okay.
Thank you,
Perfect.
Jimmy.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Mr. Robert Nittenberg. As Mr. Nittenberg does come to the podium, just remind everyone to state your name and address for the record. Mr. Nittenberg.
Robert Nippenberg, 17608 Old Dan's Rock Road, Frostburg, Maryland. As you are well aware, 3 weeks in a row been here harping about sprinklers, and I just want to say again, I would urge the commissioners to not opt out of this life safety device that can be installed in the homes. I know that there's expense involved in it. This thing has been voluntary for years and years and years. The home builders have never offered it to the people that really could use it. And as long as it's voluntary and they don't have to have a requirement for them to offer it to the home builders, they're not going to do it. I don't understand why, but you know, it's more work for them. So I urge you not to opt out of the sprinklers. And I was listening to Mr. Everly, and the credits that the county are considering here are not even close to what Frostburg's considering. If I'm not mistaken, I think Frostburg's $2,500 minimum, if you look at the way they're totaled up. And if I gather on this one, the credit would, well, it could vary. The building permit, that's the one that there's no set fee for that, obviously. But the $500 for 3 years could be increased because, like I've said before, this is new money, so it's not affecting the tax rolls at all. So even, just say, for example, you made it $1,000 for 3 years. You're not losing anything because it's new tax money. Okay, it's not like you're taking it out of the general fund. So I don't think the incentive is adequate. I think more work needs to be done with that. And again, I don't want to take up all your time. I urge you not to take out the sprinkler ordinance. Thank you.
Could I ask a question, Bob?
Yes, sir.
With the incentives that we've come up with, it should be about $2,000 that the county would be paying towards someone's sprinkler system,
Right.
correct?
Right.
And I believe in your testimony a few times, you feel that total cost for the average home would be about $2,500 to $3,000.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't have the numbers right in front of me.
So basically, the county is giving over half the cost to that system. And it's a system that's adding to the value of one's home. Do you really think that every taxpayer should be paying for an entire sprinkler system for somebody's home?
No, but in previous discussions with you gentlemen, the incentive thing came up, and I thought it would be more adequate than what I see with this number.
Well,
and
like
I'm
I
not
say,
saying that this is wrong. But
It would be over half of the cost of the average system.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that to me seems fair. If you're the homeowner and you're going to reap the entire benefit of the system 5 years down the road, if you sell your house, you're going to say, well, this house is worth more because it's got a sprinkler system.
Right.
So you are recovering probably the full value of the system.
you would be if you sold, yes.
Even though the county has given you half that cost. So, you know, I would have a problem with
Well, I
trying to
think-
cover the entire cost of a system.
Well,
So that's how.
Well, I just used $1,000 as an example, and because the example I'm trying to make there is that it's new money, it's not costing the county anything. But then again, we're going to reap the rewards 3 years down the road, because then it'll be taxable.
right. For
Sorry.
clarification, we're not voting on this particular incentive proposal. That's something that
Yes,
we're
sir.
going to do down the road if we decide to, and we may be able to massage that or whatever. So I just don't want us to get confused
I
with what
understand.
we're actually voting for and what we're not voting for.
I thought while I was here, I'd make my comments,
No,
and I don't
that's
have
cool.
to come back up.
No. No. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have, unless you have questions.
I think we're good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Tim Dayton.
My name is Tim Dayton. I reside at 311 Spruce Street in Westernport, Maryland. I'm currently serving as the chairman of the Maryland State Fire Prevention Commission, and I'm also a local fire chief in Alleghany County. I apologize I wasn't able to make it to your last meeting when you had public comments, but I've got some comments I'd like to make here this evening.
Please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, first of all, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for being able to address you on this life safety issue. Of particular interest is the your proposed deletion of the fire sprinklers in newly constructed 1- and 2-family homes from the IRC. The requirement of fire sprinklers in newly constructed 1- and 2-family homes are considered a minimum requirement by the code. Fire sprinkler requirements for newly constructed homes are a significant component of the occupant protection package. Several communities in Maryland have already realized the value of the sprinklers. Today, 13 counties and over half of the municipalities in Maryland have already required or soon will require fire sprinklers, including Frostburg, as our most recent one. Newly constructed residence dwellings and fire sprinklers have been required to install in townhomes in the state since 1992. Effective January 1st of 2010, in accordance with the requirements of the Maryland Building Performance Standard, the state of Maryland adopted the 2009 edition of several ICC codes, including the IRC, which includes residential sprinklers. Additionally, in January 1st of 2011, all modular homes erected in the state will have to have fire sprinklers installed, as they must meet the state requirements. In 1987, after studying ways to reduce fire deaths and protect the firefighters in Prince George's County, Prince George's County became the first county in the nation to adopt a comprehensive residential fire sprinkler requirement. Fire sprinkler requirements were phased in, beginning with multifamily dwellings, followed closely by townhomes in 1988 and single-family detached homes in 1992. Since 1992, over 20 years, Prince George's County has required fire sprinklers in all newly constructed residential occupancies, including 1- and 2-family dwellings. Today, there are over tens of thousands of homes in Prince George's County protected by fire sprinklers. During the past 20 years, Prince George's County has experienced with residential sprinklers has been phenomenal results, and the benefits of the residential sprinklers have been documented in a report that was released back in August of 2009. None, I repeat, none of Prince George's County residents or firefighters have died in fires where homes contain properly functioning fire sprinklers. Unfortunately, during this time period, more than 100 Prince George's County residents have perished in home fires where there's no sprinklers, where no home sprinklers were present. The evidence is clear and simple. Residential fire sprinklers save lives. When a fire occurs in a dwelling with a fire sprinkler, typically the sprinkler closest to the fire is activated during the very early stages of the fire. Experience has shown that most residential fires are controlled by a single fire sprinkler head flowing about 13 gallons a minute. And that technology, as you've indicated, is improving. Frequently, the fire sprinklers system activates just after the smoke alarm. Residential fire sprinklers are first and foremost life safety system. They protect the residents and firefighters alike. They are designed to maintain tenability, giving occupants time to safely evacuate the resident. Much needed protection for the occupants who are incapable of self-evacuation, including our young, old, and those with limited mobility. Experience has shown that residential fire sprinkler systems frequently exceed design requirements and almost always control or extinguish a fire. There is no doubt the installation of smoke alarms has greatly contributed to the level of fire safety afforded to the dwelling occupants, and they continue to have an important function. However, smoke alarms alone are not enough. Even functioning smoke alarms by themselves have been found under some circumstances to not be sufficient in alerting the occupants, not providing them the opportunity to escape the toxic smoke and flame produced by an uncontrolled fire. When reviewing the fire fatality data in Maryland, between 25% and 35% of those who die in residential fires do so even with working smoke alarms, and that's what Commissioner Brody had indicated there. The current edition of the IRC recognizes that smoke alarms are only part of the occupant protection package and should be required in new homes. One reason that the updated code is now requiring sprinklers. I could tell you a lot of stories about being involved in some of the tragic deaths that have occurred. And like you said, you've indicated about the smoke alarms. And in our past 18 months or a little bit longer, none of the deaths in Allegheny County had working smoke alarms. So yeah, your figures are correct. There is simply no compelling reason to oppose this requirement that have been proven to prevent many selfless and devastating losses. Those of us directly associated with the fire service are in the best position to speak about the subject because we alone bear the unique experience of witnessing firsthand the effects of fire. Unlike those who design, build, or inspect, we are the ones that have to deal with the effects of a devastating fire. Those are our words, and they carry some weight with our experience. It is impossible to put into words the unbelievable power of fire unless you have personally been affected by it. The timely application of water is a critical difference between a fire that is quickly controlled or one that destroys a home and a family. A fire typically doubles in size every 30 seconds. Even in the best circumstances, the fire department will only be alerted of the presence of a fire after the occupants, a passerby, a neighbor, or an automatic alarm dials 911. Unfortunately, by that time, the fire has taken a hold on the building, threatening the lives and property alike. Fire sprinklers are like having a firefighter in your home at all times, ready to act quickly at the time of ignition. Time is the enemy of everyone in a dwelling that is on fire. It takes approximately 1 minute to process the 911 call. That's basically confirming the address and getting additional information. It takes additional time to alert the responders. Under the national standard, it takes approximately 6 minutes to arrive. At this point, as much as 9 minutes or more have elapsed from the time the fire was detected. Remember, a fire sprinkler system could have already activated, allowing the occupants time to escape and possibly control the fire. Without a functioning sprinkler system to control the fire during these early stages of development, the fire would more have quadrupled in size, requiring the application of a significant amount of water when the firefighters begin to fight the fire. When we arrive, we are flowing anywhere from 125 to 150 gallons per minute. At best, the fire is 3 to 4 times larger than it would have been if the sprinkler had been present. As a result, more property will be lost and water damage will be significant at this point. Everything dries out, but nothing unburns. When I started my career in the fire service, homes were made of heavyweight lumber, and they were compartmentized, helping to reduce the fire spread. Today, most new homes are open floor plans. Plywoods were used back then for roofs and floor, and the underlayments and the ceilings. Today, new homes are much different. Instead, lightweight I-beams, trusses assemblies are used. Roof trusses and I-beams are often glued together, and most underlayments are pressed board made of wood particles glued together. These modern materials are often superior in strength and performance unless they are assaulted by fire. Testing by the Underwriters Laboratory clearly demonstrates that the fire spreads much quicker in the new lightweight construction. The Underwriters test also confirmed that the older traditional style homes would withstand fire test for 18 minutes, contrary to the new engineered wooden I-beams, which will only be about 6 minutes. Synthetic materials and plastics are also common in homes today, and they produce deadly gases and high heat releases. Simply put, modern residential structures are products of technology advances and often allow builders to construct homes that are more energy efficient and affordable. These positive advances are to be applauded, but let's be clear, such homes are perfectly safe as long as they are never assaulted by fire. Once a fire starts, these same homes burn faster, produce more heat and deadly smoke, and collapse more rapidly. This is why the current edition of the IRC includes the residential sprinkler requirements for new 1- and 2-family homes and townhomes. It would be nice to live under a mistaken impression that such new homes are fireproof, but they are not. Modern construction methods and modern materials should be matched with modern fire protection systems and methods. Homes equipped with functioning smoke alarms certainly increase the likelihood of survival, Prince George's County's experience clearly demonstrate that by adding a fire sprinkler to the equation, that it increases dramatically those with limited ability and other occupants to self-evacuate. In summary, the Maryland Fire Service, the State Fire Prevention Commission, and the Office of State Fire Marshal strongly support the requirements of fire sprinklers in newly constructed 1 and 2 family homes as specified in the IRC. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Dayton.
Could a question for you, Joe? Like you stated and Creed stated about the smoke alarms. People don't change batteries in them. And the fire departments offer to go out and change batteries and all. And that's the only maintenance needs to be done to those. And yet
again,
only about 30 to 35% of them, that
and again,
maintenance
Commissioner,
gets done.
that technology is changing. The new smoke
Right.
alarms are 10-year batteries,
Right.
and that's what we're putting in now.
Right, and we donated quite a few.
Exactly, you have.
Right, but my question is, on the sprinkler systems, especially the ones that would be on wells, takes a lot of maintenance. And reading the code, it just says whoever installs it explains the method to the homeowner, and it's going to be up to the homeowner to maintain that system. Now, if it's on well, number one, you're going to have a lot of contaminants in the water that could clog the sprinkler heads. They're going to have antifreeze in them. Antifreeze is very corrosive. The code calls for that system to be drained totally each year with new antifreeze installed in the system. Well, you can't just pour it in. It's got to be properly mixed whenever you put in. So would you like to see some sort of a mandatory maintenance system set up, or is this something you think that fire departments be willing to go in and do? How are we going to make sure that the sprinkler systems don't end up like the $2 battery that never gets replaced in the smoke alarm?
In a perfect world, it would be fine, but it's not a perfect world. I don't have the answer to that. I don't know what you do with trying to.
Yeah, I was sort
have
of
someone do
surprised
that.
to say in the code that once it's in, it's up to the homeowner to take care of this, and especially on the systems on wells where you have antifreeze, that's going to be a pretty in-depth system. Now, sure, you may have the homeowner that's willing to pay somebody to come in and do that once a year, but I think you're going to have more homeowners like the people that don't change the batteries just because it becomes a nuisance to them, and they don't think about it because that sprinkler's never gone off, so it must be okay.
If it's a wet system and it's tied in just like your plumbing and stuff like that, you're testing it every time you turn the spigot on, or you flush the commode, or you do anything. So I mean, if it's tied into the sprinkler, to the water system in the home, you're testing it every time you use the water.
No, you're not testing those heads, and it's a separate piping system.
Yeah.
Now, I was just wondering if you
Again,
had an idea
again, it's just
for
like
maintenance.
it's just like I explained to you Sunday. I can't argue the code with you. You had the perfect opportunity sitting with the fire marshal, and he can cite the codes specifically to you. And maybe Commissioner Brody asked that question. I don't know.
And he can, and he did to a point, but it was, I asked the question, how do you keep it from freezing in the attic? Said put insulation around it. I said, if you got to inject something in there, see, then you're going to have to require through any municipal water hookup a double check, which cost of the double check is right around $1,000 just for that little brass double check. So right there is $1,000 to the price of this thing right off the bat, because speaking for someone that works for a local water company, that stuff can't go back in our system, because if someone gets hurt, we're going to get sued for enormous amounts of money. There's a lot of moving parts to this law that the fire marshal knows fire. People build houses know houses. People that work for the water company know water. There's a whole bunch of moving parts here, and not everyone's part is jiving. No one is going to get up here and say they want something bad to happen. Absolutely nobody. But there's several things in this that I don't like. One of them, it's an unfunded mandate. We've issued, to this point, 16 building permits this year. We're sitting 3 miles each way from a different state that has it. Pennsylvania had it and repealed it. It was very negative to their building. It ceased it. Money shouldn't have an issue with life-saving, but I'm telling you it will, because our county is in decline enormously. And that's what I was trying to get to him, because every comparison he had was with Prince George's County. At the rate that they're growing, it's a transient population. People don't care about that because they're planning on buying that house and flipping it and making a buck. People that normally live here, Tim, and your family is a prime example of that. When they come here, they stay here forever. We want to protect them, but we want to get them here and make sure they can afford to stay here.
And if I'm going to build a home, I'm going to build it in Allegheny County. I'm not going to worry about going to West Virginia or Pennsylvania
and
because
my-
it might be a couple dollars cheaper.
My only point to that was to Jim that's been here for 24 years in the permits department, who's come in and requested any literature or asked any questions. You know, if this was something that the people said, yep, we got to have and we don't care what it costs, but we just got to, and this is off subject, a sewer treatment plant rammed down our throat from an unfunded mandate, and that's how people are, that's what I'm getting. And that's not just from a couple, that's from everybody. And that's what I explained to the fire marshal, and he said, I understand that, but you're looking from a different aspect. And I said, I am, because I'm trying to look after the county as a whole. You're trying to look after the fire end of it, and I understand that completely. But if we don't, not to mix people and money, but if we don't have a tax base to protect, what are we protecting? Our county's emptying out. We're trying to keep people here. We're trying to incentivize, but we can't give the farm away, which is what we're essentially doing, to keep building going that we can't get going anyhow. I mean, I know lots of people, and I'm not trying to point no fingers at anyone, that's built houses in the last 5 or 6 years and 10 years that would probably agree with you on a sprinkler system, but they didn't put it in their own home.
Because they were never offered that. If you go back
Well,
if you go back and ask them, the home builders probably never made that an option for them.
But these people actually know better and knew that it was offered. And it was, you know, sprinklers have been around since 1870. You know, this is nothing new, and we actually get into the technical end of it, and he had an engineer there. I mean, you put so much in, you get so much out. I'm not disputing it in theory because I think it's a fantastic theory. It is a fantastic theory, and I hope that they get it to the point where it's affordable and it'll work, but I just don't see that for our county right now. I mean, that's my opinion and only mine. That's not these two.
Where I was going with my line of questioning, Tim, you know, with your position and with Bob's position, could you go back to the state farm? And I know they've got their study labs and all that. And I would like to see some sort of report from State Farm Marshal's office about the actual need. Have they really looked at the overall maintenance that's needed, especially on well, like if you got calcium in your water, if you got sulfur in your water, stuff that will clog just about anything out there, right? So, you know, this is going to be mandatory here sooner or later, no matter what we decide here today. So if we're going to offer it, and you say it's being offered to save lives, let's make sure when it's needed that it works. And the only way that's going to work, especially on a well system, the way I see it is with proper maintenance. And the code I looked at, we discussed that Sunday, the code doesn't really offer much, you know, so I don't know if the Fire Academy has really looked at it. And I know I believe what I'm hearing on the new generation sprinkler heads, the way they're going to get away with a lower flow rate is they're going to be almost a turbine. I think they're going to like do a spin. The water's going to cause them to spin. Well, that's another moving part that's got to be cleaned.
Well, I'll make the request as soon as I leave the meeting. I'll have the fire marshal see if we can find anything on the maintenance requirements, both with the residential and a well system, and we'll see that he gets it shipped up here to us.
Well, that's something
That's something that would really concern me, just to have the homeowner told how to do it and making sure that it does get done, so when that thing is needed, it truly works.
And Tim, that's going to be needed regardless, because 2015 is coming.
Right.
mean, that's-
And let's be proactive. We can get that information now, let's get
You
it.
guys have got the capability to
We'll get
study this stuff.
We'll see if we can find it.
I think that, to your point, Tim, when you talked about it never being offered, and I hope that this board does move with an incentive proposal so that we can make it an incentive to the home builders to use it as a feature for building in Allegany County, that Allegany County is interested in your safety and is trying to help out with fire sprinklers.
As long as the information gets to the homeowner, not the person that comes in here and gets the permit.
Well,
That's because a lot of times. I
that's
think-
with us working with
Yeah.
that table right behind
Yeah,
us.
exactly.
So that's,
Exactly, but like I said, it needs, if you guys do it that way, that's great. But like I said, there needs to be a nudge with the home builders to make sure. Manufactured homes, if you buy a manufactured home, it's a requirement now,
right.
so. But thank you, gentlemen, and
Okay, we have Mr. Dennis Hoppert. Hello, sir.
Dennis Hoppert, 710 North Center Street, Hoppert Builders, Cumberland. I guess that my main concern, or my main gripe, is where did this $3,200 figure come up from for a complete system? It's been in the paper a couple different times. I sell Ritz-Craft modular homes. On a 1,377 square foot house, minimum $7,000. With the pressurized system in the basement, which is going to be put in there, taking up this gentleman's space in his basement that he could have used for something else. Let me start over. I don't have a thing against these systems. It's just the way that it's being handled as far as presenting it to the public. They're not giving the public a true picture. On a well system, I can show you documentation. It's going to be a minimum, depending on the size of the house. Two-story house, you're over $10,000. You take that $10,000, put it on a 30-year note, you're putting a $25,000 payback to a young couple. Most of these people, and I'll guarantee you 99% of these people that are pushing for it, and I'm not saying that I'm not pushing for it, I just like for the facts to come out, that are pushing forward. There's no reason that this same system can't go into an existing house. Right or wrong, Bill?
It can be put in.
Exactly. And I'll guarantee you, if it come down to where they said, state of Maryland, every home, existing, new, has to have a sprinkler system in it, I'll guarantee you would have never seen this bill. You had one firefighter in here from Allegany County, from the Cumberland City. He's pushing for these sprinkler systems. Guess who bought a home? Modular home that did not have a fire sprinkler system in it. You know, to me, if you're going to walk the walk, talk the talk, walk the walk. Like I say, that's my biggest thing, is that they're not giving the true picture to the public. I wouldn't, a young kid comes in and talks to me today about a home, they're tickled to death to be able to afford a home. Now slap them in the face with an extra $10,000 or $7,000 over a 30-year note, they're paying back $25,000, that'd put a bitter taste in your mouth. And it's just like you said, Bill, with these, who's going to maintain them? I've already talked to 4 or 5 people that said, if I have to put it in, I'll put it in. But I'm not doing nothing with it. I might not even hook it up, might even unhook it. That's the feedback that I'm getting. All right, give me a second to look through here. 16 permits, Jim, Allegany County. Myself, I'm a small dealer of Ritz-Craft modular homes. I put 7 homes, and the way the economy is right now, I feel pretty proud about that. I put 7 homes in Mineral County last year. Is that what you want? I've got 4 more going this year, and one of them is talking Allegany County. I had, on the home that I'm working on right now in Allegany County, I had, I don't know his name, Jim Taylor, City Water and Sewer, out there with me today. He said, Dennis, I said, what's your theory on this? I said, as far as where these homes are going, and the way that he's talking to me, the areas that have not enough water pressure or volume to maintain these fire sprinklers is the areas that that are actionable to be built on. And they're not going to be built on because you don't have the water pressure there or the volume to do it. Now, what I would do is, if I lived in that area, I'd say, hey, you've got enough water pressure for Green Street or wherever in Cumberland. I'm paying the same water bill that they're paying. Get me a water pressure because I want that system, or we'll see you in the courtroom. What are you going to do in that case? And what is it going to take to bring these water systems up to specs? Can you answer me? You're probably talking major dollars. I called Prince George's County when this all come up. I called Prince George's County. I got on on Google, and I went through, not exaggerating, 15 different insurance companies. They're bragging that your insurance is going to drop because the fire is going to be out. Yeah, the fire is going to be out, but when that thing goes off accidentally, and like I say, please don't even begin to think that I'm pushing against these. I think they're a great thing, but it just needs to be put out in the public. What is the truth? I called 15 different insurance companies, and not one of them said, yes, it's going to drop your insurance. Every one of them told me your insurance is going to go up because they're going off accidentally. It's soaking living room suites, bedroom suites. They're spending more money right now than they ever have since the sprinkler systems come in. Payback in city, 103,000. Well, like I said, one of the main things is, if they come out and said that you had to put these in every home, existing or new, this bill would have been going long ago, because the public would put their foot down. I think that they should say, and I know that it's not going to be changed, that if there's anything I can do about it, I'm going to try to change it, because I think that it should be up to you as an individual, not the government landed it free saying you have to do this. I just don't think that it's right. I guess that's about all I have to say, and I'll take any questions. Oh, here was the key one. I talked to Ed Landon, what is his title?
He is under the Department of Housing and Community Development and maybe the Maryland Codes Administration, I believe he's the director of that.
Right. Well, I spoke with him on this subject. This has been when it first come up as far as making these things, fire sprinkler systems mandatory. I talked to him and I said, Ed, you're looking at a totally different demographics up here. I said, these people cannot afford, and you're going to kill us. You're going to kill us flat out. I said, I do care about lives. I was a firefighter myself, and I know what it's about. But then again, when that firefighter sat in here and said, yes, we need them, and then he goes out and orders a home and doesn't put it in his, why? You know what his answer to me was? You can tell you're from Western Maryland. That's exactly what that man told me. If I'd had him right there that day, I'd have probably been into jail that evening. It's not right. Those people down the road are for themselves. They don't care about us up here. And there's not one of you sitting there that can argue with me. Talk to me, Brody. I'm getting tired of talking.
I'll just bury myself if I speak here. I'll take the mic off.
No, I mean, basically, that's all I've got to say. And I just wish that the facts would come out, not this $3,200, and make it all peachy cream. And then I heard that the commissioners, you guys were talking about giving a big tax break. Now that's down to nothing. If you're talking, what was the figure you gave? Where is that, gentleman? As far as what they're going to give back, that comes nowhere close to covering $10,000. Right. And that comes nowhere close to covering $10,000. And like I said, put that on a 30-year note, do the math. You're looking at $25,000 payback. And I just think that they ought to be honest with the public and put the truth out. And then let them make up their mind what they want to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
To be fair to the fire marshal here just a little bit, where they get their figures from is he actually took, over the last 10 years, all the homes in Maryland that was built and took in their area, not our area,
Right.
their area, and it come out to $1.06 per square foot for a house on a municipal system and $1.60 a square foot. And he actually has that literature.
Now, where is that?
Well, that would
This
be,
area?
No, that's what I say. That's not it. That's 16 of the surrounding
well,
of the counties east of
I
here.
think that a study should have been done in this area to let them give an honest opinion of what they should have. And if they can do it for $3,000 of that $3,200, I will sign a contract right now. I'll take 40 of them right now, because they can't do it. They're not that foolish.
Yeah, well, I just, that's where his numbers
All
come
right,
from.
I appreciate that.
guess. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen. Any other comments, commissioners?
No.
Okay, we're in a quandary here. Okay, we'll call for the question. We're going to go for a roll call vote. Commissioner Brody?
Aye.
Commissioner Valentine?
Aye.
Commissioner McKay? No. Motion carries 2-1. Okay, moving right along, item number 2, action Code Home Rule Bill 5-12, the Braddock Run Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project Bonds Authorization. Mr. Jason Bennett, good evening, sir.
This one I have a feeling might be a little bit shorter than the last one. This is the bond bill we introduced 2 weeks ago now, discussed last week, at our hearing last week. It's $2.5 million for Braddock Run Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project. It's a two-phase project, first phase being $1 million, and we've estimated at $1.5 million for the second phase. So you essentially have your opportunity to vote on it tonight if you want to authorize us to borrow that money. It is through MDE, would be repaid with ad valorem, and as of right now, the first $1 million is under their loan forgiveness program. So the MDE will forgive 87.5% of the loan and eventually becomes a grant essentially. So it'd be $875,000. So it's a good deal.
Okay.
The rest would be 1% over 30 years.
Gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept Code Home Rule Bill 5-12. Is there
So moved.
said motion?
Said motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. Is there any discussion? Call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 3 is a resolution, Resolution 12-18 for the Allegheny County Alcoholic Beverage One-Day Special License. Mr. Everly.
Commissioners, as we discussed last week at our public work session, 1218 has been prepared for your consideration today as a follow-up to House Bill 953, which was adopted during the General Assembly session of 2011. The special one-day license is for-profit entertainment promoters desiring to promote activities on county-owned property as specified in the law. The first $100 of any fee that you set is reserved for the Liquor Control Board, and the balance of which will be designated to a local nonprofit organization. And consistent with our recommendation from a week ago, the resolution prepared 1218 specifies a $500 per day fee for a period of time not to exceed 5 consecutive days.
Okay. Gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept Resolution number 12-18.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 is the Bedford Road Sanitary District Phase 3 MDE Grant Loan. I understand that Mr. Yoder is here.
Hello, Commissioners.
Hello, sir.
It's okay. I'm going to talk about 4 and 5 kind of together because a lot
Okay.
of the facts are the same for both.
Please.
We've been offered a similar package to what Jason had just described for the Jennings Run Sanitary District and also the Bedford Road Sanitary District. It's a $1 million loan with 87.5% loan forgiveness. So basically it turns into a $875,000 grant and then a loan repayment of $125,000. So it'd be $1 million each for both of these two projects. We're under consent order in both areas to eliminate sanitary sewer overflows. So this is just more of the type of projects we've been doing the last several years, and there'll be more to come eliminating I&I. The Mount Savage project, with the repayment of the $125,000 loan, there will be a rate impact up there, but it'll also be part of the whole other Mount Savage work that's being done, so that it'll all be kind of handled together. At this point, we don't expect any changes at Bedford Road as far as the rates. Both designs will be done in-house. Kind of a short fuse on the Jennings Run project. We have to have approved plans through MDE in December. So that's fairly quick to get things to them and get them to approve it and get it out to bid. So we're asking for approval for the grant and also to go ahead and advertise when they're ready to be advertised. Any questions or anything I can answer?
Okay.
Good.
Gentlemen? Okay. All right, gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion for item number 4. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, is there a motion for the Jennings Run Sanitary District?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 6, the revision to the current 50/50 OP Road Assistant Program. Mr. Paul. It's not red and white, or it'd be a Where's Waldo. So it'd be a Where's Paul shirt.
Well, I decided whether to wear a tie or not, so two of the commissioners don't have ties on, so I'm going to go with that. Mike. Sorry.
They're trying to put somebody's small business out of business.
Before I do the OP road, I would like to comment on our engineering department and our utilities department. Right now, we looked at the numbers the other day. We are currently have under construction, we're under design $17 million worth of work.
Wow.
And we are designing all that in-house except a pump station and a bridge project. So they're getting a lot of work done. And I think that has to do with why MD likes to help us with some of these projects, because we are getting done in a timely manner, and also we're getting done in a cost-effective manner. So
Great.
they've done a good job with that. This is the, what we're doing is we're formalizing what we talked about the other day about our OP road program. We've had this program now for a number of years. I think we've expended $300,000. Up until this point, you had to pave an OP road to be part of the program. It was a 50-50 program. So the residents paid for half and the county paid for half. We've been budgeting about $50,000 a year for that program. What we decided is we looked at this program, we'd like to expand it a little bit to allow someone who maybe didn't want to invest and put a new paving road in, they'd like to put gravel road in maybe and improve that road, tar and chip, maybe even milling. So what this will do is some residents can't afford that 50-50 paving amount. So we'd like to continue that program. And the only other change is the program now says you do it one time, you can never do it again. Now we've allowed 15 years that somebody actually can come back and get some more money for that program, because since we expanded to gravel's not going to last for 15 years, tar and chip's probably not going to last for 15 years.
I know it hasn't been a lot of time, but have you had any public comment or anything like that, any inquiries or anything?
Yes, we have. Since Adam did the presentation and the paper put it in the headlines, we got a tremendous amount of calls. I think we got 10 to 15 calls the next day, and a couple letters. So we'll be looking at that program and hopefully expand it a little bit and working forward.
Okay, good. Gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion that we revise a revision to the current 50-50 other public road assistant program.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Brody, seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving right along into our consent agenda. What do we have today there, Mr. Everly?
Commissioners, today we have 4 items on the consent agenda. 2 relate to procurement, one for utilities vehicle in Public Works Department, and the Office of the Sheriff has forwarded to us a recommendation for the deaccession of vehicles that we have acquired over the years and declared abandoned. We also have appointments to the Animal Control Board and to the Mental Health Advisory Board for your consideration here.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Gentlemen, who'd like to entertain a motion to accept our consent agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Valentine, seconded by Commissioner Brody. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. What's on your mind today, Mr. Everly?
Got it all from me, sir. Nothing.
Tapped out already.
I got nothing for you. You took the 2 items that you have under the Office of the County Attorney, and you didn't even look my way, so we have nothing else. You've dealt with them already.
Well, you've,
Filled the
that
seat
just means
nicely.
we're listening to you and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Did a good job.
Just remember you're on speed dial next to the bail bondsman. Anyhow. Commissioners, who's first?
I guess I will go first.
With
And I'm
Brody.
going to keep this short and brief, and just a rundown of our calendar, because I do know we have another meeting after this one. So Friday, August 3rd, Chamber of Commerce Crab Feast, which was, well, I could go on about that, about the amount of business people we had in our area to attend this event, very worthwhile. Saturday, August 4th, South End Summerfest, Allegheny County Republican meetings. Sunday, August 5th, Allegheny Garrett County's Fire and Rescue Association meeting. Monday, August 6th, Town of Coney, Midland, and Westernport meetings. All 3 was attended. Wednesday, August 8th, Lakes Entertainment, and I know Bill will be speaking with that. Maryland State Fire Marshal meeting, County Chamber of Commerce Economic Development meeting, Chamber of Commerce Legislative meeting, South Cumberland Business and Civic Association meeting, and several constituent meetings. Thursday, August 9th, Maryland General Assembly Special Session, Annapolis, Tri-State Health Fair and Commissioners' Public Meeting, which we are at now.
Okay.
Sir?
Commissioner Valentine.
Okay, just to keep everybody updated on a few things dealing with Rocky Gap. I met with representatives from Lakes yesterday. Delegate Myers was present at that meeting, as well as Delegate Beitzel. And we just discussed the future of that project. We expressed our hopes that we could keep our conference rooms there. We feel that it's important not only to the county, but even to the success of the new project at Rocky Gap, that we have a conference center available. Lake seemed to listen well to what we had to say. Some suggestions were being kicked about what they could do on their end. But now the new 800-pound gorilla in the room is the governor's new expanded gambling bill. That the special session to discuss that started today. Last I heard, it's either going to go up in flames real quick and go nowhere, or we could see an extended special session to try to get this passed. I think his bill was 58 pages, and basically very little in the original gaming bill was left untouched. Some of the things in that bill would help Allegany County. Some of the things might have a little bit of a negative effect on Allegany County. Some of the things in that bill could help us keep the conference rooms with the project at Rocky Gap. So I've been in touch with Delegate Myers today. Mr. Eberly was in touch with Senator Edwards today, just as he was about to go into the first meeting in this special session. The House will begin their hearings tomorrow on this bill. It'll be an interesting time in Annapolis. I'm quite sure it is. It's a very hot topic down there. So we're sort of in the hold mode. We have to just sit back and wait and see what happens in Annapolis before we know what the next steps will be here in Allegany County.
Okay. Perfect. Did you want to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, we'll do it at the end,
Okay.
but that's fine. Okay. All right, we'll move into a period of constituents. And first we have Mr. Kenny Wilmot.
3 Fort Avenue, Cumberland, Maryland. I'm a 1954 graduate of Fort Hill and a 20-year graduate of the Air Force military. I spent 20 years in the military. First thing, I signed up to speak on your appointments and you didn't call me.
Right. Under my consent agenda with appointments, I really don't have comments built into that. We do that for action agenda items.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
But
I'm going to need
please.
5 minutes then.
Certainly.
Okay, on your appointments, how many of these members are residents of Allegany County?
I believe all of them, sir.
Are you sure?
I'm not 100% sure. I did not ask.
Okay.
That was not one of my requirements.
How many are employees at the shelter or volunteers at the shelter or members of the Animal Control Board, Allegany County Management Foundation that runs that place now?
Those were not questions that I asked, sir.
Okay. Back to last week, I had some questions. Maybe I can get some answers this week. Who paid for the dog bite at the shelter? Who pays that? The taxpayer or the parents of this child, or?
I don't know the answer to that, sir.
Okay, how much is it going to cost this boy's medical bill? And how many stitches did it take to sew him up? I think taxpayers should have, this should be something of interest to the taxpayer. Now, the next thing I got is question, what has the shelter, what action have they taken to prevent this in the future? I suggested they put muzzles on them dogs as soon as they bring them in, because they make a muzzle that they can eat and drink, but they can't bite. This is a very simple solution. Now then, of course, let's get to the appointments. I see Jody Schweitzer on here. I totally object to her being on the board for the simple reason every couple of months I read a fairy tale that she writes and puts in the Times News newspaper. She's been writing in there. The Allegheny County shelters rescuing thousands and thousands of animals, and what a good job they're doing. They haven't rescued thousands of animals. According to the report from Mr. Brubaker, 977 animals went through the shelter in 2011. That's 977. That's a far cry from thousands and thousands. I don't believe she should be on the board because she exaggerates. Now then, she also, Mr. Brubaker, Mr. DeVore, everybody out there, they're claiming a 93% adoption rate. Another fairy tale. Out of 977 animals, this is their report, they adopted out 575. That's not 93%. Now then, doing some mathematics, the animal shelter has only took in 2/3 the amount of animals that the management took in the previous 4 years. The previous 4 years, I did the mathematics, they were taking in close to 1,700 animals. What happened to the 700 animals that's not on the report? I got a good idea where they're at, some of them, because I had a man come and tell me he's sick and tired of the lady that lives next door to him bringing cats and dogs home from the animal shelter. She's got 21 dogs, and how many cats he couldn't count. So that's so much for this animal control board. I think everybody should take an interest in stray dogs. Now, I've called 4 times in the past year, and I can't get past 9/11. Stray dogs are dangerous. All you got to do is just take the incident up there at the shelter. This was not a provoked attack. This dog attacked it on his own. And this should be noted. Now, people say, oh, pit bulls ain't dangerous. I got news for you. They are dangerous. If you, like I read you that report last week, 33 people died from dog bites. 20 of them were children. Now, children don't bite dogs. Dogs bite, and dogs kill. I've born and raised on a farm. I know all about cats, dogs, foxes, squirrels, you name it. A dog grabs a groundhog, that groundhog ain't got a chance because it shakes it like it's a rag doll until its teeth fall out. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'll need another 5 minutes.
Certainly. Ms. Peggy McDaniel.
My name's Peggy McDaniel. My address is 13807 McDaniel Lane, Cumberland. I wanted to address about the Animal Control Board. I have a copy here that I copied off of your website, so I assume it is the most current of your code home rules about what the Animal Control Board is. And it says that the membership of the board shall consist of 7 members, 5 of which are appointed by the county commissioners for a term of 2 years. Of the 5 members appointed, 1 shall be a local veterinarian, 1 shall be a representative of a local humane society. I have the list of members here. I see 1 that has a doctor, but I know she's not a veterinarian. I would like to know what is the veterinarian on the board now.
Mr. DeVore.
At present, after consultation with the vets and in light of the direction we believe the control board will proceed with revamping county code, the vets at this point have requested that they remain in an advisory capacity since they are certainly can be said that they will benefit or that will impact their business based on the decisions they make. The vets have elected to remain also. There's no vet that's appointed. That position remains vacant.
Yes, that's because when Dr. Cosgrove had stood up and voiced his opinion that the shelter should not be run as a no-kill, as an open-door county facility, he was crucified. And that's why you don't have a veterinarian who is willing to be on the board. I would like to know which of these people on the board are a member of a local humane society.
Mr. DeVore?
Jody Spicer represents Queen City Animal Rescue, and if you look at the definition in the county code of what defines a local humane society, the definitions addresses it as something that's involved in prevention of cruelty to animals, which is certainly one of the cornerstones of Ms. Spicer's rescue.
It's listed as a rescue and not as a local humane society. Animal Welfare Society was the only humane society when this was drafted 30-some years ago. They have always had a member on this board, and I will say right up front, I do not want to be that member. When my term expired, I retired. I'm sorry, I'm too old to fight these fights anymore. But I do object that there is not a member of the Animal Welfare Society on this board, being that we have been part of it since it was started 30-some years ago. I noticed that it says that they are appointed for 2 years. If you read back through your county code home rule, they are supposed to be rotated so that everybody doesn't go off at the same time. So I do think you need to look at that, and each one of those 2 members, 2 of them should be appointed for 1 year, and the other 2 appointed for 2 years. I also would like to know, do you have a date for a meeting?
Mr. DeVore?
The members that are being appointed tonight to the control board have not, as far as I know, they have not officially taken that board position.
Correct.
So we will not be able to schedule the first meeting until after tonight, and then through the process, since it's a board appointed by a public governing body, the animal control board meetings are open, and those meetings will be advertised through the county webpage as well as through local newspapers.
So during my interviews with them, I told them of the date that we had hoped to be able to be making a decision. They will then be receiving a letter from me stating that.
Are they also, each one of them, going to get all 10 pages of the minutes from the last meeting, which has always been the policy before?
Ms. McDaniel, we will take care of that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the other thing that I'd like to bring up is the fact that when the newspaper said people that were interested in this position were to send their letters to Mr. Brubaker and Mr. DeVore, and it seems to me that since these people are the ones who are pushing the no-kill policy at the animal shelter, that they have weighed this board totally in their favor.
Well, one of the beauties of this Board of Commissioners is that any appointments, instead of them being rubber stamped as years in the past, each commissioner picks a subject and they themselves interview and then make a recommendation to Mr. Eberly and the rest of the commissioners for that. So each one of these appointees, as well as everyone else from 2011, have been interviewed. But I thank you very much for that point. Mr. Wilmot.
Yes, just to back up, Mrs. McDaniel was there. It's like everything in politics. This animal control board has been stacked from top to bottom. It is now pro no-kill.
If I recall, 2 months ago, Mr. Wilmot, I asked you personally if you would like to be on it.
I will not be a puppet of any political system. I refuse.
But what better way to not be a puppet than to be on the board,
Well,
Mr. Wilmot?
I'm back here.
So let's get, you want to talk about facts.
That's facts.
Let's talk about
That's
facts.
facts.
I gave you
But
the opportunity.
I will not go and be
Instead of you just getting on a chair and pontificating about...
I'm stating facts every time I've been here. I will not go to Mr. Brubaker and beg for a job. He doesn't know anything about running anything. Hundreds of cats and dogs have been dying under his management. But anyway, let's get to the meat of the situation.
At the end of the day, Mr. Wilmot, I personally, President of the Board of County Commissioners, asked you to put in a resume for you to be on there, not Mr. Brubaker.
I don't
Thank
want
you,
to be
sir.
on there.
Continue.
Let's get to the meat of this. The taxpayers in Allegheny County are paying for animal rescue and protection against vicious dogs, stray cats, and whatever. The animal control shelter now doesn't enforce any portion of that code. You can call them, you can go out there, you can do what you want. I've even come to you people and begged them to come up and remedy the situation on our street. And what you told me, well, we can't do nothing because them dogs don't appear to be mistreated.
Do we really want to go into the facts again?
No, we don't go into that.
Commissioner Valentine sat for about 2 hours with you. He then he went to your house and actually talked to the neighbors around you.
He talked to nobody when I was there. Nobody was home.
Excuse
Mr.
me, sir.
Lamont,
We went to
you
the
are
house across the street.
You are entitled to your opinions. You are, however, not entitled to design facts. Continue, sir.
Anyway, since the taxpayer isn't being protected against stray dogs and cats, we can't, you call them, you have to go out there and fill out an affidavit. Who works for who in this county? I pay their salary. They should come to my house. You call them, hey, I've been attacked by a dog. Come fill out an affidavit. And now you call them for stray dogs, and they won't even answer the phone anymore. I've had people come to me I've never seen before, say, hey, I've called the shelter, they won't even answer the phone. I said, well, you go see the commissioners. Now then, since they're not doing anything for the taxpayer, I think it ought to be shut down. And let that foundation out there that you're allowing to run the place, let them pay for it. All the hundreds of thousands of dollars. This money could go into our teachers' fund for the retirement. Could go into fixing streets. And that shelter, according to them people out there, they got pockets full of money. Let them take care of it. That'd save us a lot of money, a lot of headaches. And they got all these experts out there, so-called experts. I call them something else because if they knew what they were doing, they wouldn't have cat and dog diseases out there for the past year and a half. You can't bring animals together like that off the street and think that they're okay to handle. But anyway, like Mr. Peter Maslock said, he's not afraid to pick up any animal because he can look and see if it's sick. Well, he made a few mistakes, according to the report I get from him. And I honestly don't think that man should be allowed to work out there. But you hired him, you created jobs for him out there, and then Mr. Brubaker complains he has staffing limitations. Well, he's got more than twice as many people as a past management. He got 10 people out there now. If he can't handle what's out there with 10 people, he needs to go back to broadcasting on the radio or something like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilmot. Okay, I'd like to remind everyone that our next public business meeting will be August 23rd, 2012 at 5 o'clock in this room, room 100. Announcement, please see the news release on the White Oaks recycling site closing. And do you?
Yes.
Okay.
And one more thing, and thank you for letting me read this. The Allegheny County Commissioners encourage all citizens to greet the 911 Memorial Riders who will be in Allegheny County on Friday morning, August 17th. The riders will begin in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and will be en route to the Pentagon and to Ground Zero. Allegheny County citizens have traditionally welcomed the 9/11 Memorial Riders along the route with flags, banners, and a lot of patriotic spirit. The riders will drive down Maryland Route 36 from Motor City, go through the Narrows on US 40 and enter Cumberland on North Mechanic Street. They will continue past Cumberland Public Safety Building and turn left onto Frederick Street. The riders will pass the Bell Tower Building, City Hall, and the McMullen Bridge to cross over the railroad tracks. The riders will remain on Frederick Street to Naves Crossroads. Here the riders will turn right and proceed on to 68 East. The riders are expected to be in Cumberland right around 9 a.m. and scheduled to arrive at Rocky Gap between 9:15 and 9:30 for a 30-minute planned rest stop. According to event organizers, this is about remembering the heroes, which we all know that is the absolute truth. So if anyone has any questions on this or how they can help or whatever, please call Miss Harlem Smith, and we have a phone number we'll provide to the media, because I have got to see that every year that it's went through there, and that is spectacular. And we most certainly want to welcome them as part of Allegheny County. So
Perfect.
thank you, Commissioner, for letting me read that.
Well, thank you all for participating in your government. Have a good evening.